All right, so welcome to the Time Freedom System. And this is going to be about, my journey in business. I've done all the mistakes, but I've figured out how to disconnect time and money. And by increasing your focus and focusing on the things that actually drive, you toward your goals, that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm the founder of Real Estate B School, Lars Hedenborg. And this is a good quote from a really awesome book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Becoming the type of person you want to become, someone who lives by a stronger standard, someone who believes in themselves, someone who can be counted on by the people that matter to them, is about the daily process you follow and not the ultimate product you achieve. So for some of you, you're not where you want to be, and it's just one step and one day at a time. So our agenda is simple. I've got you for 57 more minutes. I want you to be here, be present. This isn't your typical sort of webinar. I call it a workshop because I want us to do some work together. This is valuable time. I don't take it for granted that you're here spending a part of your day with me. So treat this time as sacred. Pull out your journal, take notes. This is going to be 99.9% teaching. I have no offer to make. I'm not going to sell you anything at all. And we're going to cover three things. The first is the relationship between time and money. Most real estate agents and team leaders do not understand this, and they are capped in the amount of money they could make. The second thing we'll cover is how to navigate business growth. There are 6 distinct stages of business growth, and I'll take you through some of those. And then also committing to the journey. Once we get clear on what the journey looks like, and once we get clear on how to detach time and money, we can go for the growth that we're looking for. So this is the guiding question that I have, that I ask myself all the time in my quiet time. Am I making consistent progress toward meaningful goals in the areas of life and business that really matter? So take a minute and just sort of grade your scale of 1 to 5. 1, you're not making consistent progress, or you don't have meaningful goals, and you're just not on the track. You're not in the game. 5, you absolutely are clear in 7, 8 areas of life and business where you're going, and you're tracking against those goals. So just give yourself a mental grade here, 1 to 5. And we're going to solve some of this today. So don't get discouraged if you're not high up on that ranking system. So for me in my journey, I got into real estate 2007. I'm not going to tell you the long sordid story, but I was newly married, new dad. I had to make it work. I left a multiple 6-figure corporate job to get into real estate. And guys, it didn't work. It wasn't working. So this is 2008, the year I sold 44 homes as a solo agent. This is my first full year of real estate, and it was completely out of bounds. Not only was I not present and attentive during the times and things that mattered most. I don't know what motivated my beautiful bride, Julie, to take all these pictures. They serve me well now, though. I just wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to. Ruined our first family vacation. Promised Julie that we would get away. We would take 4 days. I would disconnect. I worked on a deal that didn't even close. I'm not going to raise your hand actually, but raise your hand if you've let your family down working when you shouldn't work. I had a really good example of how not to do it. My dad was the ultimate E-Myth. If you've read the book by Michael Gerber, E-Myth Revisited, the entrepreneurial myth, right? His dream was to come to the States from Sweden and just start a business and pursue that American dream. He was in business for 33 years. And ultimately had nothing to show for it. He was an active alcoholic, meaning he drank until I was age 15. My parents divorced when I was 4, lots of uncertainty and chaos growing up. And I knew that I wanted to build a business that allowed me to show up as a good husband and a good dad and take care of myself physically and do all the things and have all the things, right? Kendall, my baby girl, was born in April 2010, and it was go time. In 2010, I think I sold like 60 homes, and I had other team members that sold another 60 homes. We did 118 transactions or so. That next year, 2011, we did 178. 2012, we did 248, and I did one of those 248 transactions. So came into the real estate business with no business background, no sales background whatsoever, no marketing background, hadn't led or managed anyone. One guy in a corporate job, I was his boss. And I figured it out. And It wasn't perfect, but I would say that it was intentional. We were able to travel when the kids were young and just live a life of freedom in terms of time and money, and also freedom from stress. And Real Estate B School was born out of that, right? I'm not an extrovert. I don't love to sort of be on the stage, even sort of virtually here. But my journey was really hard, and I knew that I had to help others sort of, grow and scale their businesses so that they can have time and money freedom. Throughout our time together, I'm going to give you some case studies to sort of drive home points that I'm trying to make. Stacy Peterson was actually the first person to come to Real Estate B School. And when I talk about the 3 points we're going to cover today, understanding time and money, navigating the stages of business growth, and then also committing to the journey, Stacy was able to go from grinding out transactions to over 300 transactions, got out of production, and ended up selling her real estate business for a 7-figure valuation. Just a phenomenal growth journey. And it wasn't like she knew how to do it necessarily. She did the work, but I was her guide along the way. So for some of you, just knowing that others have done this, and it's not necessarily just me, sort of talking about, how I did it, will really provide some value to you. So Stacy is just an awesome example. So this concept of time and money and the time freedom system, why does this even matter? The cool thing about business, there's 2 aspects of life. Basically, it's time, money, and stress. So 3 aspects. In terms of time, the cool thing is that it's finite. We all have the same amount of time, which I think is awesome, right? Who you are today, how you show up in your relationships, your finances, how you're working, out of bounds, working evenings and weekends and letting people down, or you're crushing it. We all have the same amount of time, and we've made all of these choices leading up to this moment in time about how to spend our time. The good thing is we can change those choices going forward. And I don't doubt that even though I've figured some stuff out, I've made all the mistakes, that these are extraordinary times. There is such an overload of things to do, information that's coming at us. Everybody has the answer of how to, grow your real estate business. And I feel particularly, maybe it was because I was raised by my mom. I think women in real estate that have kids and a husband, I see them struggle more because a lot of times they don't really give up some responsibilities around the home, and they're expected to show up as super mom and super wife and super real estate agent and like all the things. And it's just overwhelming, and burnout is real in those situations. So a lot of you are sort of turned upside down right now, and just take a deep breath. We're going to go through some tactical things that can really help you. And some of you have just, you're achieving traditional success. So you're maybe selling enough homes, you're making really good money, but you've hit a ceiling and you're frustrated, and time is likely not your own. So they're sort of different. We'll go through some of the stages so you can see what I mean by some of this, but there's definitely a feeling of frustration when you're not achieving your goals. And this concept of there being freedom in structure, I'm going to drive this home when I go through the basic principle of how to make the most out of your time and make the most amount of money. You have to understand that if you're opening up your calendar at the beginning of the day, or you're just starting out, your alarm goes off and there's nothing in your day that gives you an idea of what you should be doing and making the most of your time, you're not in the game of business, right? So I'll show you some things that I fought like crazy initially that now allow me to take 10, 12, 14. I'm taking a month off for my 50th birthday, totally off the grid, not going to check email or do anything for a month. So, but I didn't start out that way, right? And I will warn you that the things that I'm going to go through, the exercises that I'm going to challenge you to do, you've heard many of these things, but I would caution you to dismiss them. And I would encourage you to slow down and pay attention, because these are the things, and I'm going to go through them and you'll know what I'm talking about, but these are the things that are going to allow you to make as much money as you want in a reasonable amount of hours with a level of stress that's enduring. what's the that is that you can endure, right? So you can a manageable level of stress. So there are no secrets to some of this stuff, but a lot of times we're looking for that magic pill and it doesn't exist. So let's get into like what you should know tactically, and let's talk about the journey, right? And committing to a mission. And this is Real Estate B School's mission, but you should have your own mission, right? Our mission is to help agents grow and scale their real estate businesses through the use of sustainable systems and empower people so you can make more money, enjoy more time off, and experience less stress in your life. What's your mission? Why are you getting after it every day? Why are you in this industry, right? Have you committed to a journey of growth? That's the question. So when I look at the Business Growth Navigator and I talk about the 6 stages of growth, most of the industry lives in survival mode. So this is 0 to 100K GCI. I don't care if this is you right now, but if you're in this start survival mode stage, chances are you're not financially free. Chances are you have more stress in your life related to your finances than you probably want. Probably you have more time on your hands than you want, and maybe not. That's sort of a 50-50 when you're in that first stage. In terms of getting to the ramp stage, this is from 100,000 GCI all the way to 500,000 GCI. This is where you're doing it all. This is what I call traditional success. And this is what I call success not worth having. This is where lifestyle creep can take most of your savings away. You elevate your lifestyle. You're not saving. You're not getting anywhere closer to freedom. And you're working a crazy amount of hours. And so the key is to enter into this build stage where you're building the foundation, you're building the systems necessary to take your business to 1 million and beyond. You're not putting in a lot of hours to do it. At this point, you're working less hours than the ramp stage, unless, well, I don't say that all the time, unless you haven't put some key systems in place to get you there, right? There's some key leverage systems that will help you put in place between 500 and 1 million GCI. And then you have the lead stage, which is 1 million to 1.5 million. Many agents don't want to go past 1 million, right? You can have like a couple team members really dialed in systems to get to that million, that 1 million GCI mark. But there are others. Once you put all those systems in place, it's only a couple key people to take you to 1.5 million to 2 million to 3 million plus. So it really doesn't matter where you are in the journey. I have coached guys selling, I say guys because there's a few of them and they were all guys, and a lot of it was ego. They had 5-6 million top line, so GCI. They were doing a crazy amount of production. One guy over $1 million of personal production, and that $6 million business wasn't netting $1 million. So let that soak in for a second. So these stages aren't so much about like people that that are running big teams and big businesses, or solo agents doing a million in GCI. They may be working 80 hours and it's not a life worth living. So don't look at this as like, oh man, like I'm in survival mode and there's no hope for me. Your outcome may be to build a business square and build stage, right? 750 1 million GCI, you're working less than 40 hours a week. You're not working with buyers. You're not working evenings or weekends, a true systems driven business. So let me one thing on here that I didn't go into is the Business Freedom Index. This is a key calculation that honestly, if there's nothing else you take away from this conversation, the time we spend together, this is it. The Business Freedom Index, I didn't call it back the first time I calculated this, but it's the total amount of money that you take home. I use my adjusted gross income on my tax returns. So after all the income from multiple businesses, all the expenses I run through those businesses, divided by the total hours you work as a team owner. If it's you and your spouse and you're sort of filing a joint return, it's that joint adjusted gross income, AGI, divided by the total annual hours both of you are working. This is hours that you're working in and on the business, right? So if your AGI is 250,000 and you're working a 50-hour work week, that's 50 times 50 hours a week times 50 weeks. That's 2,500 hours a year. Your business freedom index is $100 per hour. The first time I did this exercise was early 2008, where I had cleared $37,000 on 250,000 of GCI. I gave like 75,000 to my broker. I generated all my business. I was the top agent my first 10 months in the business out of 20 agents, and I gave him $75,000. He didn't give me a single deal. He did get me into real estate though, which I owe him forever for that. And then, so 250, I had 175 left over after I paid him that 75. And I wasted a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of things that didn't work. And I only took home 37,000. In those 10 months, I worked 2,000 hours, I calculated, and it was $18.50 an hour. And so the challenge I have for you guys is to, I don't want to do that. All right, let me, sorry. All right. So there's a couple of things I want you to do here. Let me go through this first and navigate the stages as they relate to the Business Freedom Index. In the start stage, this is where you're overworked and underpaid. You don't know what you don't know. This is like 90+% of the industry. In the ramp stage, you can make up to $50 per hour, starting to make a little bit of money, but likely working way too much. Right? In the build stage, money's decent, but time's not your own. Systems are key. In the lead stage, you can go to $250 per hour. Leverage has kicked in a bit, and things are going really well. And then the exit stage is up to 500. When I was in the owner seat in my business, I made over $3,000 per hour, and we sell 453 homes in a single year. And I worked 42 days or something like that. And there's only a couple people, right? So this, lead, exit, own stages are not as complicated as they might seem. So for you, I need you to calculate your current Business Freedom Index, right? Perfect time of you, well, coming up on the perfect time. You may want to calculate it for last year. If you have an idea of the amount of money you take home in a given year, divided by the number of hours that you work, and then decide what you want it to be. That year, I made 37,000 net, 2007, my first 10 months in real estate. I sold 27 homes. Only took home 37,000. I pre-decided that I was going to make 500,000 working 40 hours a week. 40 hours a week times 50 weeks is 2,000 hours. So I took 500,000 divided by 2,000. That was $250 per hour. I didn't have all the stages back then. I just knew that if I was going to make this worth it, right? I had a lot on the line. I was going to make a lot of money in a reasonable amount of time. I changed it pretty quickly once I achieved that 250 to the game that I've been playing is I want to take a 7-figure income home, and I want to work 1,000 hours a year, which is 20 hours a week. So $1 million AGI, adjusted gross income for my tax return, divided by 1,000 hours is $1,000 per hour. Once you know your desired number, you will never look at the activities you're doing again. So this is a foundational concept. If you don't pivot around this concept, you will not be able to detach the hours you work from the money that you make. So it's really, really focused. And here's the thing. Once you know this number, right? For me, my first aspirational Business Freedom Index number was $250 per hour. Now it's over $1,000 per hour. You have to stay focused on the things that allow you to earn that kind of money. Brian Tracy has a great quote. I wish it were easier than this, but the ability to discipline yourself to delay gratification in the short term in order to enjoy greater rewards in the long term is the indispensable prerequisite for success. So there are things you'll need to do now to be able to set yourself up for an amazing lifestyle in the future. So if you haven't read the book, is it Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog? It's either Jim Rohn. I think it's Brian Tracy. Jim Rohn or Brian Tracy, The Truth About Frogs. In real estate, there's only a few things that you can make money doing. The frogs, right? The saying goes, if you had to eat a frog, when's the best time to do it? You don't want to look at that frog all day long. And typically new business development, lead follow-up, those types of activities are the leading indicators of success. And those are the frogs that you need to eat in your business. And you must continually, now that you have this number, for me, it's $1,000 an hour. What can I do this week? How can I focus my efforts so that I can put myself in a position on a consistent basis to make the kind of money that I pre-decided I wanted to make, right? In real estate, 85% of the things that you do on a regular basis, they're not more than $25 to $50 an hour activities. They're critically important that you do them, like inputting a listing into MLS, running a lockbox out to a property, picking up an earnest money check from one person and getting to another person, taking photographs, meeting an inspector, right? Those are all critically important. You won't get paid unless you do them. But some of them are just like high level business errands, where, we can hire someone in a major metro market that I have had my business in for, put an ad out for $9, $10 an hour, and we get 100 applicants in 2 days. And some of them were sketchy. So once we found a good one, we would increase them to $12, $14 an hour. But you have to constantly think about where you're spending your time. And we want to be productive, not busy. All of those other tasks, the critically important, but not very lucrative tasks, they'll make you feel good, right? You can cross 12 things off in a day on your task list, but how many of those activities put you in a position to make the kind of money you wanted to make in the kind of time that you wanted to work? This definition of productivity is by Dan Kennedy. Productivity is the deliberate strategic investment of your time, talent, intelligence, energy, resources, and opportunities in a manner calculated to move you measurably closer to meaningful goals. So as you end a day or a week and you look back on where you spent your time, could you honestly apply this definition that 80% of your time was spent in productivity, doing productive things, deliberate, strategic. You're using your time, talent, you're using all of it in a very meaningful way or a calculated way to move you closer to the things that you say you want to achieve in your life and business. And if you can't, things have to change. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let me talk about the business freedom blueprint. And this is how you need to look at your business. If the goal, and this is the goal for most agents I talk to, is to make more money, to have more time off, and to have less stress, the focus has to be about systems. And team members doesn't mean it's a big, massive team. It could be a local licensed part-time administrator. It could be a showing agent. It could be, a VA, take advantage of geo arbitrage. There are talented, hardworking virtual assistants in other countries that can help you do the things and empower them to do some of the things that need to get done for you to be successful. But there are 4 drivers. First, we need to attract high quality buyers and sellers, convert them into loyal clients, deliver on the promises you make, get them into a house or help them sell their house, and then put all the pieces together to be able to scale. When it comes to attract, the question to ask yourself, and we have a process that we go through, I'll tell you about it in a little bit, our strategic business assessment, where how strong is your database marketing? How strong is your listing marketing? How strong is your buyer marketing? Are you having high quality buyer and seller leads systematically, regularly come in without you having to sort of come up with some magic to make the business come in, right? When it comes to the convert driver, it's all about lead management. Most folks that come into your world are not ready to transact in the next 60 to 90 days. 90+% aren't. So you have to have a lead management, email and text sequences. Sorry. Oh, crap it. All right. All right. So when it comes to the next, and we call these accelerators around the drivers. The drivers are attract, convert, deliver, scale. There's 3 accelerators for attract, the 3 accelerators for convert, lead management, then it's appointment setting. Do you have an actual scripts and dialogues in place and a way to optimize and maximize the opportunity to take as many leads that come into your world as possible and get them to the consultation process, which is a standardized sales process for buyers and sellers, where you maximize the chances of them saying yes to use you as their agent and then successfully deliver on the promise. When it comes to deliver, it's a world-class experience working with you. So it's client servicing, from they sign a buyer loyalty agreement or they list their home with you to getting that home under contract. Transaction coordinators, contract to closing, but in a world-class manner where they're not just marginally happy at the closing table. They're more happy than they were when you got their home under contract. Typically, they're happy when you get their home under contract or you get them, in a home as a buyer. And then it's like, it just goes down with the contract to closing. We want them to go higher and drive referrals in your business. And then with respect to deliver the critical technology tools that allow you to deliver at a high level. And then once you systemize, attract, convert, deliver, we can scale the business. The accelerators here are create your future, which is planning, knowing your numbers, which is becoming the CFO of your business, and then ultimately growing your team. And I want you to take a snapshot of this. I've been at this for a long time. I didn't have this back in the day. I did not follow this blueprint when I got into the business. This is how you must grade your business. If we ever have a conversation, the only thing I'm offering you today is a 10-minute business growth assessment. I'll tell you how to take advantage of that in a little while. We're going to go through your business and we're going to evaluate your business against this backdrop. And so I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but Real Estate B School, this is how we set up your business and empower you to look at your business so that you can drive growth and you can focus on these drivers and ultimately build out these accelerators. Dave Friedman, man, this guy's just an awesome success story. I met Dave the middle of the year before he sold 35 homes. He was losing his mind from a time perspective. He only took home a little bit over 6 figures the year that I met him. This was, I forget which year, but long story short, in terms of applying systems, he had a part-time administrator at the time I met him that just simply took the systems that we had in Real Estate B School and put them in place one by one while he kept selling. And long story short, last year, 450 transactions. He took multiple vacations. I think it takes about 15 weeks total, but he took a 30-day off the grid. He actually inspired me to take mine next year. 30 days off the grid vacation. When I met him, he was eyeballs deep. His marriage was strained. I can only say that his marriage was strained because he said it publicly when I interviewed him for a case study. It wasn't a good situation, but now he's completely free from that business and he has multiple businesses as well. So you can do this. It doesn't matter where you are right now. You can do this yourself. So let's talk about how we get there. Another great quote. If you guys haven't figured out, Atomic Habits is like one of my favorite books. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, which is really comforting. What's the most powerful system you have that you very rarely use? It's your calendar. Be like, thanks, Lars. That's so amazingly empowering, to let me know that Google Calendar is mobile. I live in my calendar, right? I don't know what to do if I wasn't abiding by the decisions I've made in my calendar. And I'll tell you specifically what your calendar needs to look like here in a second, but you need to establish your hours with clients, family, friends, and put all the things that matter into your calendar. You don't work Sundays. You only work 2 evenings, right? You work Saturday mornings by appointment only, right? You get to decide when you work, and when you work, you do the work. Right? So master time blocking. Lars, I never knew time blocking was an actual thing. Thanks for revealing this concept of time blocking to me, but are you actually doing it? Are you putting the stuff into your calendar on a recurring basis that will give you the highest chance of success, and then honoring that commitment to yourself? And we'll talk about it here in a little bit. And then you need to plan your work and work your plan, right? I know you've heard it. Right? But do you actually have a plan? In Real Estate B School, we start out with a 3-year vision. We build a 1-year plan. We chunk it down into a quarter or 90 days at a time. And then we get to work every week and every day. So are you doing that? And are you focusing on dollar productive activities? Guys, this is a writer downer. 5 things that make you money in real estate. PLANS, prospecting, lead generation, or new business development. I like new business development, but P is prospecting. Lead follow-up. So most of your prospecting efforts will generate a lead. And then the whole game is follow-up. So you have systems in place, right? Are you building systems? Are you doing lead follow-up? A is appointments or consultations. First-time appointments with buyers, would-be buyers and sellers. Number 4 is N, negotiating buyers under contract or listings under contract, not necessarily repair negotiations or appraisal negotiations. And then S is systems. So prospecting, lead follow-up, appointments, negotiating deals, and systems. And so the question is, Are you spending more than 80% of your time in those 5 activities? And if not, why? What's getting in your way? It's a really small list, but those are the only things that I can come up with that make you real money. If you're running a team, if you have people that are in your world, there's maybe one other. What's a good other? PLANS, helping team members, coaching team members would be, succeeding through others, of course. But as far as the core activities that you need to be doing every day, those are it. And number 4 here is to dominate your day. Use activity chunking and just get after it, right? At the end of the day, you want to look at everything you did. You want to be confident that you could step away. For me, this is where I work. At the end of my day, I can step away knowing that, man, I crushed that. I crushed that. I crushed that. I crushed that. I did like 4 or 5 things today that were intentional, that moved me closer to the things that matter, my meaningful goals in the areas of life that matter. So are you maximizing the productivity during the day? And then real quick, James Clear, Atomic Habits, there's a good video on YouTube. Write this down. Don't go there now. I need your attention. What is it? James Clear, 1% better every day. Just go to YouTube and find that video. I think it's 25 minutes long. It essentially summarizes the book. So if you don't want to spend 5 hours listening to the book, which I highly recommend, watch that video. Number 5 here, and this is inspired by a quote by Dwight Eisenhower. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Right? So the Eisenhower matrix, it helps us understand how we prioritize this onslaught of tasks coming at you. So it's the 4 Ds, right? There's the matrix is urgent and important, right? And if we, what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important, right? So if let's use an example. It's not urgent that I worked out today, right? I did get a workout in today. I didn't want to do a workout today. But how important is it that I work out, right? So not urgent, but important. That's where you decide, right? You have to make a decision to fit those things into your calendar. What's an urgent important? Say you have a closing this afternoon and something blows up that only you can solve it. That is urgent and important. You have to do it now, right? So that's do. What is urgent but not important, right? It's urgent that we get a home, that we listed on MLS. We get photos taken, we get the home measured. All that stuff is super urgent, right? Sellers are like, this thing should be on the market in 1 hour after you leave, right? So it's really urgent, but it's not urgent, and it's not urgent. It's important, but not urgent. Either way, you guys get my point. It's to delegate it. It's not important that you do it, right? So these are things that that are coming that are it's not important that you do it, but they have to happen. So the question is, who can you delegate it to? Who can do it for you? Working out, it's not urgent, but really important. You cannot delegate it, right? So, but how many things are you doing every day that aren't urgent and aren't important? Right? That could be in business. It could be checking your email. It could be, social media, getting distracted by social media. It could be, having your phone on you as you're doing your new business development time blocks, right? And you're texting and you're getting distracted. Those are things that you have to eliminate. So last part here is to take clarity breaks once a week. I urge you, same time every week. Some of our members love it on an early on a Saturday morning. Some are Sunday evening. People, not Monday morning. It has to be on Saturday or Sunday. Some people of our members do it 4 o'clock on Friday. Either way, you're planning the next week, right? Put that in your calendar. I urge you to take action and put that in your calendar. And this is what a calendar should look like for someone that wants to be successful in business. Parts of this might change as you navigate those 6 stages, but this is worth taking a screenshot of. The stuff in red goes in your calendar first. Date night, family night, church, Bible, prayer, meditation, family time, any buffer times. I don't know why I have team meeting and personal development in red. The green activities, that's where you make money, right? You're not going to make money if you're not spending a chunk of your day in that prospecting or new business development time. And then appointments, lead follow-up is an hour long every day, at least. And then you have appointments. And if you don't fill those appointments with buyer consultations or listing consultations, you're filling them with new business development. That's not an excuse to go on the internet and do random stuff, right? So appointment open slots that aren't filled are filled with more new business development. That means that you're not being effective enough, or you're not proficient enough yet at those new business development time blocks. Or you can sub some of those out for working on the business. You see Saturday morning work on the business. Those are important as well. So Thomas Jefferson said, if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. Dave Hook, I just had a conversation with him recently. Long story short, another 80 plus hours a week. He only had an administrator and a buyer agent in his world when I started with Dave. Fast forward to the conversation. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago. Fast forward to he is literally exiting legit, not stage 6. There's another sort of like, he's not going to even pay attention to his real estate business. And that's not for everybody, but he got it down to 90 minutes a week, one single meeting. And he's even putting a GM in place that he's not even going to, he's going to really be in the true owner seat. He went through all the stages. The cool thing about Dave is that he only worked on one thing at a time. So he quadrupled, no, probably 5x his business, probably 10x his income over the 4 or so years that we worked together. And now he's in a position where he's really going to be able to set that on autopilot. His wife, Jenny, was pregnant with their first child when we started working together. And you can see in the middle picture on the bottom, they've got 3. They're a little bit bigger now, but oh no, there's only 2 there. Where's one with 3? I may not even have one with 3. Either way, they're at 3 now, and then they're a little bit older. And he has pure freedom and owns multiple businesses at this point. So the question is, I've covered a lot. I've talked about a lot of these case studies and examples. I talked about my journey. So the question is, how do you get there? And really the question is, why'd you show up today? I do not have anything to sell you, but a lot of you need to change something. Things aren't going the way that you wanted them to go. Some of you are fighters and you're going to figure this stuff out. And against all odds, you will make it work. And you're just attending sort of random, webinars or workshops, or you're learning in this Facebook group and that Facebook group, but you don't have a real roadmap that you're following. Some of you are just like, but things are pretty good, and I'm just trying to fill in the gaps in terms of my skills and knowledge. And then some of you, are attracted to this concept of working on the business. And this is just a chance for you to do that and learn some things about how to grow and scale your business from a systems perspective. And then others definitely want to go further, faster. And I am looking specifically for folks that can be our next case studies. And the only thing I'm offering you is a conversation. And this is the first step to scaling your business. It's a 10-minute business growth assessment. We're going to talk about where you are right now in your real estate business. Where are you going? 12 to 18 months from now, what would have to happen for you just to be super stoked about your success and things that you want to turn around? And then what obstacles have been getting in your way? That's the thing I have for you. It's very, very simple. Go to rebsstrategysession.com. That's rebsstrategysession.com. The goal of this assessment is to arm you with a clear plan. We're going to identify one thing that will make all the difference for you in terms of profitably and predictably scaling your business. This is not hype. There's no gimmicks. The calls are with me. So this isn't a handing you off to my sales team. The calls are actually with me. So I would tell you to take action right now. Go to rebsstrategysession.com. I think in the next week, I have about 8 or 10 openings available. A few words of caution. Some of you are intimidated by some of the stories that I told today. The guys and girls that, 5x their business, 10x their income, and took their time down to nothing in their business. You're so overwhelmed with where you are right now that you can't possibly imagine a better future. I will tell you, just let go of that fear and suspend disbelief. The mindset of you can be the next one is all that matters. And I really have to impress upon you that that is all that matters, is your mindset that you can do this. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, right? But it's very, very simple. The process that we will take you through is not a complicated process. We have programs for every stage of the journey. Do not look at folks that are running bigger businesses and think that they have it figured out. They do not. I have coached personally and through Real Estate B School, other coaches, dozens and dozens of folks that are doing multiple millions of top line GCI that aren't taking home more than 10%, and they're working 60, 70, 80 plus hours a week. So if you're early in the journey, you're actually in a better position to be able to grow this thing the right way and put the right systems in place. The last case study I will talk about is my most near and dear to my heart. Dan Jones did not have a license before I met him. He got his license to join my real estate team, spent a couple years on my team, then went out on his own. He was just an entrepreneur at heart. Couple of years in a row, he did about 60 transactions with his brother, sort of half-time, and he had a pretty good part-time administrator. I was like, Dan, I had just launched Real Estate B School. I'm like, Dan, let me just show you some of the things that I've learned along the way. Like, come into my world, give me some money. I will show you how to do it. And I'll say this, we took a leap of faith. He went from 65 to 105 transactions. And at 65, he was working 8 days a week. Got a little relief as he grew a little bit, but to go from 105 to the next year, 175, we went from 4 paid lead sources to 1 paid lead source. So we just went deep on one thing, and he still has that lead source, and he's one of our business coaches, and he teaches us how to get 11, 12, 13 times return on Google pay-per-click leads. Generally, I'm not a big fan of paid home search leads, but because his system is so powerful, I allow our members to spend money on buyer traffic. Then he went from 175 to 225. The only thing he did, we added back 1 lead source that we had previously took out. And then he went to 275 and consistently does 250 to 300 transactions every year. He has not, his claim to fame, you can see their first child, Charlotte there on the left, lower left and upper right. His claim to fame is that he has never not, she's in kindergarten or preschool, he's not missed a drop off and a pickup of his daughter. He's like, you are not gonna out dad me. And I get emotional thinking about it. He did not have a great situation with his dad growing up, and you are not gonna out dad him. So we put him in a position to be able to be the kind of dad and the kind of husband that his dad was not able to be growing up. And they had their second child recently, and it's just really just an amazing growth story. So rebstrategysession.com. Let me make sure it works here. I had, yeah, Mike has a question, and I'll take any questions. You guys can just jump into the questions now. Our official time is done. I must have went fast. I was expecting more than 45 minutes. So I've got some time for questions, but if one of you can just triple check that the Reb strategy session works. Reb strategy session. Yep, it works. All right, perfect. So I had redirected it early this morning. So Mike has a question. Curious if you have a blueprint guide for setting up your business as a newer agent starting out in a new city. I was with Remax in Canada for 3 years, starting out again just outside Dallas without a sphere here other than my wife's family. Yeah, so I mean, the process is still the same. So if you remember the drivers, so you need to figure out how to attract buyer and seller prospects as quickly as possible. Real Estate B School, I mean, we have 7 lead gen levers. Probably a couple, 3 of them will apply to any agent. So you can implement them without a large database and get busy as soon as possible. I mean, social proof works in a new city, right? You can use social proof of clients, essentially set up a Google business page and get some social proof and maybe run a few Google local service ads. Realtor.com and pay-per-click ads if you have, and Mike, you can ping me directly. And I can perhaps give you some guidance. But it may make sense, right? If you have the right system in place for converting leads, to spend a little bit of money on home search leads. I don't advise it like forever to like sort of use it as like an addiction. You scale your business and get up to ungodly amount of paid home search leads, but that's probably an easy way as well. Expireds, we have an expired system that is unbelievable. That's how I got up to 92 listings in, I think, 2011, 2012. It wasn't all great because not all of them were selling. But I cut my teeth on expired, not calling them, getting them to come into my world, which was pretty cool. Most of our lead gen, actually all of our lead gen levers, and home search leads is not one of them. It works, and we have systems for lead conversion, but all of our lead gen levers are geared around attraction based marketing. So how do we get people to come into our world, to come in and bother us? Hopefully that's helpful. If you guys need anything, I've sent you an email. You can Facebook message me. There are ways that you can get in touch with me. Go to rebsstrategysession.com. It all starts with that quick, 10, 15-minute conversation. So I would get over there right away, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Y'all be good. Bye-bye.